Hey, you have heard of trolley problem before, right? This is just like that, but with technology. Let's have a thought experiment about it. Imagine this. You're driving down the road when suddenly your car's brakes fail. You have two choices. In one direction, 5 people are standing in your path. In the other, just one. Your car makes a split-second decision. Who lives and who dies? It's a tough moral decision, isn't it? On one hand, you're saving more lives, but on the other, you're making an active choice to sacrifice one person. It's the classic dilemma that challenges our moral compass. What's the right thing to do? Now, what if that decision wasn't made by you, but by an AI system, a machine designed to think and act on your behalf? As technology advances, the question isn't if AI will be making life and death decisions, but when, and how should we feel about that? Today, we're diving into one of the most pressing ethical dilemmas of our time. Should we allow AI to make life and death decisions? And if so, what does that mean for our future? Let's explore this together. The trolley problem is no longer just a philosophical thought experiment. It's becoming a reality in many fields where AI is increasingly involved in critical decision-making. From autonomous vehicles to healthcare AI to military drones, machines might one day have to make these types of life or death decisions. Imagine a self-driving car that has to choose between swerving to avoid hitting pedestrians, but risking the life of its passenger. Or an AI in a hospital, deciding which patients get critical care when resources are limited. The same moral dilemma of the trolley problem is at play. But now, it's not about philosophy, it's about technology that could impact real lives. Now that we've set the stage with the trolley problem, let's take a look at how AI is already being used in real-world situations where life and death decisions are being made. Let's start with autonomous vehicles. These self-driving cars are designed to make split-second decisions, and in some cases, those decisions could be life-changing or even life-ending. Imagine this scenario. A self-driving car is barreling down the road, and a pedestrian unexpectedly steps out in front of it. The car has two options: swerving to avoid the pedestrian but risking the lives of the passengers, or slamming on the brakes and hitting the pedestrian, possibly causing serious harm. In situations like these, AI must make a decision almost instantaneously. It's the trolley problem in motion. Do you sacrifice the passenger's safety to avoid harming the pedestrian? Or do you risk the pedestrian's life to protect the passengers? And what is the right decision here? And what if the AI makes the wrong choice? Who is responsible for the consequences? The company that made the car? The engineers who designed the system? Or perhaps the AI itself? Now let's look at AI's role in healthcare. We're all familiar with the growing use of artificial intelligence in diagnosing diseases, but it's also being used in life or death situations, like triage or end-of-life care. In the case of medical triage, AI systems are sometimes used to prioritize patients who need immediate care based on the severity of their conditions. For instance, during an emergency situation, like a natural disaster, doctors might not have time to treat everyone, so AI might step in to assess the urgency of each case. In a more everyday context, AI can be used to recommend treatment plans or predict the chances of survival for terminally ill patients. But here's where things get complicated. In these situations, AI doesn't just recommend a course of action. It's often involved in making decisions that directly impact someone's life. Let's say an AI system is evaluating a cancer patient's treatment options. It could recommend aggressive treatment that could extend life, but at the risk of severe side effects. Or it might recommend palliative care, which would improve quality of life, but might shorten survival time. But once again, we run into the question of trust. What if an AI-guided system makes a mistake? And how do we ensure that AI's decisions are aligned with the ethical standards and values that healthcare professionals follow? The reality is, AI in life or death situations is already here. It's saving lives and potentially putting them at risk all at once. But the big challenge isn't just about whether AI can make these decisions. It's about how we, as a society, ensure it's doing so ethically, transparently, and responsibly. And maybe, more importantly, it's about figuring out where humans need to step in and where we can trust AI to take the lead. Let's dive into the heart of the ethical dilemma. When a machine makes a life and death decision, how do we ensure it aligns with human values? Think about it. It doesn't have emotions or a sense of right and wrong like we do. It's essentially a series of algorithms trained on data. So, when we allow AI to make decisions, we're entrusting it with some pretty heavy moral weight. But who's to say what's right or wrong when it comes to AI? Who decides what that machine considers acceptable or unacceptable? The obvious answer might be the programmers, the human creators behind the algorithms. But that brings up another issue. The person writing the code is also writing the morality. So if an AI system is making decisions based on a framework that one person or a group of people design, what happens if their values don't align with society as a whole? And who's to say which values are universal enough to program into a machine? This leads us to another big concern: bias. One of the dangers of AI is that it can inherit biases from the data it's trained on. If an AI system is trained on biased data, say, historical data about healthcare outcomes or traffic accidents, it might make unfair or discriminatory decisions. For example, an AI used in a hospital might prioritize treatment for a patient based on race, gender, or socioeconomic status, even if those factors shouldn't have any bearing on their care. Bias in AI is a serious issue, especially when the stakes are so high. If an AI system is responsible for deciding who gets treated first in an emergency room, who decides what data is used to train the system? And how can we ensure that it's not perpetuating historical inequalities or making decisions based on incomplete or flawed data? In life or death scenarios, biased AI could lead to harmful, even deadly outcomes. And once the AI is in control, how do we reverse those decisions if they're wrong? So what can we do about this? First, we need transparency. We have to understand how these AI systems are making decisions. Are they using data that's complete, diverse, and representative of the population as a whole? Are there checks in place to ensure the machine isn't perpetuating harmful biases or making decisions that go against our shared moral values? So let's get to one of the most important and pressing questions when it comes to AI making life and death decisions. Who's responsible when something goes wrong? If an AI system makes a harmful decision, whether it's an autonomous car causing an accident or a medical AI misdiagnosing a patient, who do we hold accountable? Is it the developer who wrote the code? The manufacturer who built the system? Or is it the AI itself? And if it's the AI, how do we even begin to assign responsibility to a machine that, in theory, operates independently from human direction? Let's break it down. The developers are the ones writing the code, the ones designing the algorithms that power AI systems. They're responsible for programming the decision-making processes and ensuring they work as intended. But what if they miss something? What if a flaw in the code causes harm? Are they legally liable for the outcome? Then, there's the manufacturer, the company that builds the hardware and integrates the AI systems into real-world applications. If a self-driving car malfunctions and causes an accident, should the manufacturer be held accountable for the failure of their product? After all, they've put that AI into the world, relying on its decisions to be safe. But here's where things get tricky. Should the AI itself be held responsible for its actions? Can we ever truly hold a machine accountable the same way we would a person? In a sense, the AI is just executing the code it's been given, with no understanding of morality or consequences. So can we really say the AI itself is guilty of a harmful action? Or is the responsibility always on the humans behind it? Many people are uncomfortable with the idea of putting their lives in the hands of algorithms. After all, AI doesn't have human emotions or a sense of empathy. It makes decisions based on data, without considering the deeper moral implications that guide human decision-making. A recent survey found that a significant portion of the public is hesitant to trust AI in these high-stakes situations. People often feel that a machine, no matter how advanced, can't understand the nuances of human life and the emotional weight of these decisions. There's a deep-rooted fear that AI may make cold, calculated choices that might not align with our values, priorities, or sense of fairness. To build public trust, we need to ensure that AI systems are developed with transparency and input from diverse voices, ethicists, doctors, technologists, and even the general public. People need to feel like they're part of the conversation and that their values and concerns are being taken into account. We also need to make sure that the AI's decision-making process is understandable. If a machine is going to make a life or death choice, it should be clear how and why it came to that decision. Transparency is key. If AI can explain its reasoning, the public is more likely to trust it, especially if it's based on clear and ethical frameworks. While AI has come a long way, we have to be honest about its limitations, especially when it comes to making decisions that could impact human lives. Right now, AI can process massive amounts of data and make predictions or recommendations based on patterns. But when it comes to understanding the complexity of human life, empathy, and the long-term consequences of its actions, it's still very limited. AI can certainly analyze data more efficiently than any human ever could. It can look at thousands of variables in a split second, and it can make decisions based on that data, whether it's diagnosing diseases, navigating a self-driving car, or even managing an investment portfolio. But here's the catch: AI doesn't feel anything. It doesn't understand the emotional weight of a decision, and it doesn't have the moral intuition that humans use to navigate life's most complex situations. Take, for example, an AI diagnosing a terminally ill patient. It might recommend the most effective treatment based on statistics and available data, but it can't truly understand what that diagnosis means for the person receiving it. AI doesn't experience the heartbreak of telling someone they're nearing the end of their life, nor can it consider how that news will affect the patient's family, community, or even their mental health. AI also doesn't have the capacity for empathy. It doesn't know what it means to care for someone or to make a decision that will affect not just their physical health, but their emotional well-being. This is where the big challenge lies. AI's ability to analyze data and make logical decisions doesn't mean it fully grasps the nuanced human experience that comes with those decisions. Some argue that AI should only be used as a tool to assist human decision-making, not replace it. In medical settings, for example, AI can help doctors by providing them with more accurate data and predictions, but it should never take the place of human judgment. A doctor can use AI to help decide what the best treatment might be based on the data, but ultimately, the human doctor should be the one to consider the patient's values, preferences, and personal circumstances when making a final decision. The truth is, we don't have comprehensive global regulations governing AI, especially in the context of life or death situations. While there are some guidelines and frameworks, they are often vague or inconsistent across different countries and industries. For example, in the US, AI regulations are still in their infancy. The federal government has released some guidelines, but they focus mostly on ensuring that AI systems are transparent and free from bias, rather than offering clear rules for when and how AI can make life-altering decisions. This brings us to an important question. Should there be more regulation? Many experts say yes. AI systems are being trusted with decisions that can have serious consequences for human lives, and without clear rules, there's a risk that we could see more mistakes, like those made by autonomous cars or flawed AI medical diagnoses. But regulation isn't just about keeping AI systems safe, it's also about promoting trust. If people believe that AI is regulated properly and that there are safeguards in place to prevent harm, they're more likely to trust these systems with critical decisions. Governments, tech companies, and ethics boards need to work together to build these regulatory frameworks, ensuring that AI systems are designed and used in ways that align with the public's values. So to wrap up, we've covered a lot today. We've looked at the ethical, technological, and philosophical challenges of letting AI make life and death decisions. On the ethical side, we've explored questions about whether AI can truly understand the complexity of human life, emotions, and moral decisions. While AI is undeniably powerful at processing data, it lacks the empathy and human intuition that are essential when making life-altering choices. Technologically, we've seen that current AI is still limited in understanding the long-term consequences of its actions. Even as AI becomes more advanced, we'll always need human oversight to ensure these decisions are fair and just. And finally, we've touched on the role of regulation. Right now, we don't have a clear, global set of rules to guide AI in these critical areas. But there's hope that as AI continues to evolve, we'll build frameworks that prioritize human values and safety while encouraging technological innovation. So where do we go from here? Should we trust AI with life and death decisions? Or do we need to ensure human oversight at every step? It's a question that requires careful thought, not just from experts, but from all of us. Because the decisions we make now will shape the future of AI and how it's integrated into our lives. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you trust AI to make these critical decisions? Where do you think we should draw the line? What kind of safeguards should we put in place to make sure these systems are fair, ethical, and accountable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is an ongoing conversation, and we all have a part to play. AI is shaping our future, and the more we discuss and question its role, the better prepared we'll be to make sure it's used responsibly. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more discussions like this, comment, and share your thoughts with me. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to the channel.